Britain, weird. British people, weirder. British expressions that don't make any sense, proper weird. From Bob's your uncle to all talk no trousers, it can be pretty difficult to understand what us Brits are actually going on about. This means that you're going to struggle to communicate with us, and that can cause all sorts of problems, but don't worry, I'm here to help you out. Let's get cracking. Alright mate, and welcome to another episode of the Dan Sensei British English Podcast, the podcast designed for intermediate and advanced level English learners that want to know more about British life, British culture, and of course, British English. Now in today's episode, we're going to be looking at some pretty weird British expressions. Now, as you know, British people like me, we love to use idiomatic expressions and slang and all this good stuff, and that can make life pretty difficult for non-native English learners because these expressions often don't have a direct connection to the meaning, or they can't really be translated in other languages, so it's pretty difficult to work out what's actually going on. However, if you can overcome this problem, you're going to be able to communicate much more easily with British people, whether that's like social situations or professional context, whatever it is, you'll be able to participate in conversations more confidently without feeling left out or misunderstood. Sounds good, right? And that's why today I'm going to show you some pretty confusing British expressions. The first one I've got for you today is your guess is as good as mine. Your guess is as good as mine. And we use this expression in a situation where somebody asks us a question and we don't know what the answer is. We haven't got a bloody clue. And in that case, the best response you can possibly give is, well mate, your guess is as good as mine. Basically what I'm saying is that I don't know the answer. I could guess, but it's just a guess. I don't really know. And actually, you're in the same situation. You don't know the answer. You could guess and we don't know if you're right. We're basically in the same situation. Therefore, your guess is just as good as my guess. Your guess is as good as mine. So let's imagine we're going to go to a concert together. We've bought tickets to see, I don't know, Slipknot. Why not? We're going to go and see Slipknot live. But neither of us know what time the concert starts. And you say to me, hey Dan, what time does this concert start tonight? Mate, your guess is as good as mine. I don't know. One of us should probably get on internet and double check what time this starts because we don't want to be late. We don't want to miss the support bands. We don't want to be in a massive queue to get in. We want to get there nice and early to make sure we don't miss any Slipknot. The next one I've got for you is keep your hair on. Keep your hair on. And this is an expression that we use to tell people to calm down. Chill out. Don't get so angry. Keep your hair on. I don't really know why your hair don't really fall off. I mean, maybe if you're wearing a wig, it could fall off. And in that case, we do actually say sometimes keep your wig on, but not so much. We're more likely to say keep your hair on. And imagine, you know, like old cartoons like Tom and Jerry or something. When people get so angry, like the steam comes out of their ears and like their fire comes out of their mouth and stuff like that. Really angry. Imagine that, and for some reason that makes the hair pop off the top of your head. We don't want that. That sounds pretty terrible. So in that case, you need to keep your hair on, and you do that by chilling out and calming down. For example, maybe somebody is pretty angry at me because I was taking the piss and they don't like it and they got pretty angry. And they're like, Dan, I'm going to fight you if you keep talking this way. I'm going to punch you square in the gob. And I don't want that. So I said, come on, mate, keep your hair on. There's no need to get so angry. I'm just having a laugh. Calm down. Keep your hair on. It's a good expression. You should try it out next time someone's pissed off at you. Another expression that we use all the time is to play something by ear. Play it by ear. And this expression means that we're not going to make a decision or take action right now. We're going to wait and see how things develop rather than making a set plan. You know, maybe we don't have all the information, maybe something will change between when we make the decision and when we actually do it, and we want to wait to see what's going to happen. In that case, we are playing it by ear. You know, ear, the thing on the side of your head, and play like piano, whatever. I think this probably comes from music where people would play together, but they didn't have any set plans and they would just kind of improvise together. You know, maybe the guitar player would listen to what the piano player is doing and then decide what to play based on what they're doing. They're playing it by ear. I guess it's something like that. I mean, don't quote me on it. Your guess is as good as mine, but that's my guess. For example, let's say we're going to go on a picnic this weekend. But you know what England's like. Weather is pretty unpredictable. So you call me like, Dan, let's have a picnic in the park tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Well, mate, good idea, but let's play it by ear and see what happens, because probably it's going to rain, innit? Let's be honest. So we can do it like that. Or it could be something like, we're going to do something, but we don't have a specific plan. Let's say we arrange to meet this weekend, but we don't have any set plans, right? And you ask me, Dan, what are we going to do this weekend? I don't know, mate. Let's just play it by ear and see what happens. Let's just meet up and then let's see what happens. Let's decide at that point. Let's play it by ear. How about you? Are you the kind of person that likes to set plans in stone? Or are you more laid back and you like to play it by ear? I don't know. You'll have to tell me, won't you? Up next is to give someone a bell. And this doesn't have anything to do with buying a bell and gifting it to somebody as like a birthday present. We're not actually literally giving a bell to someone, right? This expression, quite common in the UK, literally just means to give someone a call, give someone a ring, call someone on the telephone. We give them a bell. Or for some reason, sometimes we say, give them a tinkle. Don't use that. It's a bit weird, that one. It sounds like you go into the toilet, but whatever. Some people say, I'll give you a tinkle, I'll give you a call, I'll give you a ring. Or in the UK, we like to say, I'll give you a bell, I'll phone you up. For example, I'll give you a bell when I'm on my way home, and then we can decide if we're going to go to the pub or not. A really famous British expression next is Bob's your uncle. Bob's your uncle. Now, what are you on about, British people? I don't even have an Uncle Bob. What are you on about? Bob's not my uncle. My uncle's called Steve. Whatever. But this phrase is used to indicate that something is easy or straightforward. Like, it's not difficult to do. For example, let's say I want to cook dinner and I'm a terrible cook, but my wife is a good cook and she's like, Dan, come on, it's easy. All you've got to do is put the ingredients in the pot, turn the heat on, let it simmer for about 10 minutes, and Bob's your uncle. Dinner's ready. It's that easy. So Bob's your uncle is just a way of saying, do the simple steps and it's finished. It's easy. You don't need to do anything else. Bob's your uncle. I guess another expression that's kind of similar is like, hey presto. You know, some people, maybe you've heard this one before. I think it feels a bit more American than British, but you know, hey presto, it's finished. Or Bob's your uncle, it's finished. Now, I don't know why this expression exists. I don't know why Bob's my uncle, and I don't know why that means that something's simple, but it's actually a longer expression, which is Bob's your uncle and Fanny's your aunt. And I don't have an Aunt Fanny either. And as a side note, Fanny in British English actually is a slang word for vagina, so it's even weirder when you delve into it. But if you want to express that something is proper easy, you just follow these 3 simple steps. You know, I want to improve my English. Step 1, go to Dan Sensei English. Step 2, follow. Step 3, listen. Bob's your uncle. You'll be fluent in English. Just like that. Terms and conditions apply. It might not actually happen. But that's how we use that expression. And I hope now you understand what the bloody hell we're on about when we say Bob's your uncle. Up next, we've got one of my favourite expressions. I love this word. And it is to have a chinwag. Chin, you know, this part of your face underneath your mouth, that bone, that's your chin bone. And wag is like a dog wags its tail, it moves its tail, right? So if you wag your chin, it means you're moving your chin up and down quickly. Now we do that when we're chatting, when we're talking to our friends, when we're talking, our chin moves up and down, we're wagging our chin, we're having a chin wag, and it just means to have a chat or a conversation with somebody, usually a friend, or it's quite a casual expression. You're not going to be using it, in court with your lawyer, like, actually, Mr. Smith, let me just have a chin wag with my client. No, don't do that. But with your mates and people you know pretty well, or locally around you, your neighbours or something like that, if you have a quick chat with them, you're having a chin wag. For example, maybe you want to say to your mate, come on, let's go for a coffee and let's have a chin wag. Let's go for a coffee and let's talk together. Let's have a chat. Good expression, that one. I like that one. Now, earlier in this podcast, when I was talking about somebody keeping their hair on, I used the expression taking the piss. Now, you probably know that piss means to urinate. It's got loads of words, but that's one of them. That's one of the meanings, is to urinate, to take a piss. I go to the toilet because I would like to urinate, and I take a piss. But taking the piss is quite different. It's not really connected at all. Taking the piss means to make fun of someone or to tease them. British people, we love to tease our mates. It's a bit weird. We say nasty things to our mates, joking around, and we say nice things to people we don't know because we don't like them very much. So in that case, the more British people like you, the more horrible things that they say, because taking the piss is a big part of our culture. It's kind of weird, isn't it, that? More I think about it. But there you go. That's how British culture works. So if you're teasing your mates or you're making fun of something, you're taking the piss. Now, a lot of people maybe know the expression taking the mickey, which is a more PG version of this expression. You can use both of them, but you're more likely to hear taking the piss than you are taking the mickey, but you might hear both of them, whatever. So, for example, your mate tells you something and you're not sure if they're being serious or not. And you can say, are you being serious? Or are you taking the piss? What's going on? Tell me, are you joking or are you being serious? Are you being serious or are you taking the piss? Good expression, but it is a little bit sweary, so be careful when you use that one. Now the next one is actually kind of a slang word that you can use in a bunch of different ways, but it's basically the same every time. The example I've chose for you about this one is a cheeky pint. A cheeky pint, and that's probably because this is the way I use it the most, which says more about me than anything else, I think. But a cheeky pint. Now, this is a way of describing a sneaky or unplanned drink, often like outside of normal drinking hours. It's not Friday night where most people go drinking. Maybe it's Thursday afternoon. Maybe it's Tuesday lunchtime. It's a time we shouldn't really be drinking, but you know what? I'm feeling a bit sneaky. Let's quickly run to the pub for a cheeky pint. Now, this idea of a cheeky something, we can apply the same logic to everything. You can have a cheeky pint. You can have a cheeky nap on a Saturday afternoon when you know you should be doing housework. You could have a cheeky... cheeky Nando's. That's an interesting word that came up a few times. Now, a few years ago, this expression became really popular. I'm not really sure why, but a cheeky Nando's. Now, let me unpack this a bit. Nando's is a restaurant, a chain restaurant in England that sells chicken, basically. And a cheeky Nando's is you and your mates go for an impromptu trip to Nando's to eat some peri-peri chicken or something. Now, I don't know why specifically with this brand this expression caught on, but it did. But yeah, cheeky, impromptu, unplanned, sneaky, doing something you probably should know better. But we do it anyway because life's short, so do what you want. The next one I've got for you is a bit of a strange expression. It's a little bit mean. And it's actually the second time in this podcast I'm mentioning the word picnic, but not in a good way this time. The expression I've got for you is a sandwich short of a picnic. A sandwich short of a picnic. You can say a sarnie short of a picnic, because in the UK we often shorten sandwich to sarnie. A sarnie short of a picnic, a sandwich short of a picnic, same thing. And we use this expression when we want to describe someone as not being all there upstairs. You know, they're not firing on all cylinders. They're not the sharpest knife in the drawer. They're not very smart, and maybe even a little bit crazy. You know, if someone's a bit weird, a bit strange, a bit crazy, or not so smart, we can describe them as being a sandwich short of a picnic. For example, I'm explaining something to a guy. He asks for directions on the street, and I tell him, you know, go down there, turn right, blah, 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 crack on. And he looks confused and he walks off. And my mate says to me, Dan, I'm not sure he understood what you were talking about. He seems a sandwich short of a picnic, that lad. So you can use it like that. Don't say it directly to somebody. Don't be like, listen here, Mr. Smith, you're a sandwich short of a picnic. You just wouldn't do that. But behind their back, you can do it as much as you want. Don't do that. Just don't be nasty about people. But if you need to be nasty about people, this expression is a belter. Next up, we've got all talk and no trousers. All talk and no trousers. You know, trousers, Americans call pants. But in the UK, we say trousers, you know, the long things that you put your legs in. All talk, no trousers. Actually, not anything related to trousers, really, but as most of these expressions, they're not really related to the words that make them up. We have some words and a completely random meaning that's not connected to those words. Welcome to British English, good luck. Anyway, this expression is used to describe someone who talks about doing things, but never actually does them or takes action. They just kind of talk about it. You know, they talk about what they're going to do, and then they never actually do it. Sounds a bit like me, to be honest. I always have good ideas and never actually follow through and do them. I'm all talk, no trousers, but yeah, I don't want to be. I wish I were better at doing that kind of thing, but whatever. So somebody that always tells you what they're going to do, but they never actually do it, they're all talk and no trousers. Another similar expression is that somebody talks a big game, but they don't actually know how to play, right? Anyway, for example, he's all talk, no trousers when it comes to starting a business. It's a good expression. And yeah, you can use that when you want to describe your British mates or any people in life that talk a lot about what they're going to do, but they don't actually do it. You can tell them, look mate, you're all talk and no trousers. So in this episode then, we've actually delved into quite a lot of these weird British expressions. And they're a bit quirky, they're a bit weird, and we've looked at a bit like why they're hard to understand. And when you don't understand, that means that you're easily confused and you can't communicate confidently, which then means that you can't really take part in some of these social situations, or you often feel like you're misunderstood, or you don't really get what's happening. You can guess, but your guess is as good as mine, and it gets a bit messy. But if you can overcome this and you can really start to understand British English, you're well away. You're going to be able to integrate socially with British people, make British mates, build good relationships, even improve your career and work prospects, because you can communicate like natives do, and that's going to get rid of so many barriers in your life. So I know they're just a few daft expressions, but it's part of a bigger picture. If you want to live in the UK or work with British people, learning this stuff will make your life a million times easier. So, you know, spend a bit of time learning these things. And if you want to get my British slang guide, it's totally free. The link is down there in the show notes. Click it, put your details in. I'll send it you straight away. And that's the next step in making sure that you understand what the bloody hell us British people are on about. Anyway, that's it for this episode, and I'll catch you in the next one.